Alright guys, so this is the Tilta Khronos Lite system. And I've been testing it for a couple weeks and I've noticed some good things, some bad things, and some surprises. Today's video is going to be a long one, so why don't you go ahead, get a cup of noodles, and settle in, and let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Rico Dad. And just so it's clear, this video is not sponsored. I bought everything here myself, and this is just my honest experience as someone filming family stuff and whatever else life throws at me. I don't do any of this professionally. We're going to go through a lot of the Tilta Lite ecosystem today. We've got the case, circular VND filter, the grip, the 17mm plate, ND filter plate, and also the Moment filter plate. So let me talk to you about why I ended up picking the Tilta Lite Khronos. If you want a bit more detail about why I picked this case, do consider looking at my overthinking video. You might end up with a different choice than the Tilta Khronos Lite. To me, I wanted something pretty flexible. Something modular, something that let me shoot with the ND filter, but also, if I wanted to, use my existing Moment lens. And I also wanted to try the 17mm lenses because there was so much going on there that I wanted to not be left out of the party this year. The grip isn't my primary interest, but I did get it so that I could review it for you guys and maybe benchmark it against my experience with other dial systems. Now, if you are just interested in ND filters and nothing else, not the lenses, not the grip, nothing, there are cheaper options out there. For instance, there is the JJC MFS3 that I think is about to be released. I did order one. Subscribe and hit notify if you're interested in that review. Otherwise, assume the algorithm's going to find you in due course. All right, but let's talk about the case. I'll say this thing is pretty solid. It's got a metal lens ring. It's got reinforced corners. And it honestly feels really robust. It's not bulky for a filmmaking case, but it obviously is quite a bit heavier and more heavy duty than the Spigen Neo 1 that I've been using before. I actually do quite like the look of the Tilta Khronos Lite. It's kind of industrial, kind of cool. And obviously that's subjective, but I do think it looks pretty distinctive, particularly when you have a plate installed. I have had people stop me on the street when I had the circular ND installed and ask me questions about it, so it definitely stands out. Now, it is a little slippery. It's not terrible, but it certainly doesn't feel like the TPU cases that I'm used to when I use the Spigen Neo 1. It's also on the heavier side. When I do switch back to the Spigen, I notice it right away how much lighter the Spigen case is relative to the Tilta. It does have a stand, and I've also noted that I have had stand cases in the past, and the hinge can break over time. There's nothing specifically wrong with this one though. I'm just giving you an observation that hinges have broken on me and they tend to break on me. Maybe it's just me. But this particular stand is usable in both portrait and landscape mode. Now in terms of button feel, it's very good. It's clicky, very responsive, not mushy, not stiff. Very usable, and I haven't noticed any problems launching apps with the side buttons or changing volume. Also, the camera control button is super flush and well matched to the size of the camera control button itself. I've never had any problems launching the camera from the camera control button. It just works every single time. Let's talk about the porthole. Obviously, a Hagibis works on the MagSafe. There's no issues whatsoever connecting the USB-C port with the stock OEM cable of the Hagibis into the phone there. No problem. Very clear. Similarly, if any of you have used the Hollyland Lark A1, fits in no problem as well. It's already turned on. The DJ receiver also works very well, but I'm using right now so I can't film it. In terms of MagSafe, it does feel very snug, no issues whatsoever. So the grip also comes with a plate like this one here, and whoops, this way, and there's no issues with that either, but we'll get into that very shortly. So this is the MagSafe grip. It's not coming off. Now, what's missing in terms of the case? My personal view is with a photography-centric case like this, you absolutely need to provide space for a lanyard. And that's because people are holding this case in a certain way, potentially with heavy lenses or filters. So an option for a lanyard gives the user much more security when they're holding the device. Unfortunately, the Tilta doesn't have one. There is a bit of a workaround if you buy the grip too. We'll get into that, but to me, that is actually the biggest flaw with this case. There's no lanyard hole. Okay, so let's talk about the lens plate area here. For all these lens plates, the trays lock in and de-lock really easily, no issues whatsoever. And when they are locked in, I'm absolutely not worried about them falling out when I'm using them. They all use the same mechanism. There's a quick release switch at the top of the plate. All of them have it. So we'll start the circular ND, align it, and then just put it down and you're done. It's now connected and you just push the release and let it go. Same thing with the 17mm. Goes on, comes off super easily. The FSND goes on, click, comes off really easily. And with the Moment, with the T-Series T-mount, same thing, and you pull it right off. No issues. Let's go back to this one. You'll see, of course, that it juts out on the side here. So you may not like that. Some people are going to have it, and I think it's well-founded if you have a problem. You want it to be flush. Like, that's one strength the Moment has over this solution. For the FSND filters, like it does hang up quite a bit, like maybe about 8mm off the side. Certainly, you can see that it does jet out quite a bit, or you can attach the magnetic FSND. It comes on pretty quickly, just like this. And there, you're done. I actually leave the 17mm on like 99% of the time, because in case I want to use the lens, but also because in general, I think that helps protect the camera module on the phone as well. So now the only thing I would say is that you'll notice that the switch is on the top here. There's a potential scenario where I put this in my pocket and maybe I just put my hand there by accident and I pull it out, you know, with my tight jeans, and it just slides right off. That's theoretically possible. Very functional, this tray. It's possible the lock switch could break, but since it's on a plate, you don't have to buy the new case altogether. You just buy the plate again for, you know, maybe $10 US, something like that. One other thing is that for all of the plates, there's no blockage of the mic, the flash, or the LiDAR sensor. So no issues with muffled audio this year. And that's a huge game changer in terms of usability. Okay, so let's get into the grip. A lot of you are actually very interested in the grip. It feels excellent. The middle part here is a soft touch plastic. The front dial here is actually quite dampened and smooth. It doesn't feel loose or rattly or anything like that. It actually feels better than the one on my Ricoh. All three buttons at the top are sufficiently responsive. They click well. The shutter button actually has 2 clicks, so like focus and then take the photo. Zoom lever has good travel and springs back and forth very smoothly and quickly. So all in all, pretty good design physically. And I do like the grip. I do feel it's actually quite high quality. And how does it attach? There's actually 2 ways it attaches. The bottom of the grip has these 2 mounting points, and they fit either into the case directly, or you could just fit it into the plate as well. You see there's 2 holes there. They can line up and just go right in. And then you enable the safety lock. This thing is not going anywhere. I feel very confident it's not going to fall off. Even with the plate is very strong. If you attach directly to the case, it's even stronger. Sometimes I wish there was actually more space on this side. So sometimes the grip overhangs the bottom part of the case a bit. And I wouldn't have minded that in this case, because now the meat of my thumb there sometimes does impact the screen, so that's not perfect. I did email Tilta before I received the device and asked them, is there a tripod hole, like a 1/4 inch hole? And they said no. But the answer was actually yes, because you can mount a tripod onto the case right here. And I have done that. The only thing I would say is because the grip is actually on the side of the case, you can't use this with smaller tripods because it's just gonna like tip over, basically. To solve my earlier lanyard issue, I also have this tripod attachment that allows me to connect one of these Peak Design pucks. And so I can just go like this and hold it. And it's very, very comfortable. I'm not concerned at all about losing this or dropping this. Like, it just feels a lot more like a camera, to be honest. When the grip is attached, it actually functions as a stand as well. You know, I can place it either like this or like this, and in both cases. And when the grip is attached, there is going to be a channel where you can thread a cable through for your SSD. I do have this cable that I tested, but I just received this cable today and the adapter today, so I can say it works today, but I'm not vouching for the quality of these cabling accessories at this point in time. But it does work, and you can use the grip and still connect an SSD, which I know a lot of you were asking questions about. It does work for the Hajibis SSD. Now, when the grip is attached, again, this significantly improves the handling of the camera. I noticed it right away, and it's a very deep and heavy grip. No problems whatsoever. The front dial is well placed for my fingers. I did notice that I triggered it a couple times accidentally, so I do kind of hold it slightly differently so that I don't accidentally push the dial when I don't mean to. All the buttons are well placed, but I do find that because of the way this function button works, like you push it along with like the zoom rocker, it is a little bit abnormal for me to hold down the function angle like this. It took me a little while to get used to. Your muscle memory does kind of learn it pretty quickly. On build quality alone, I think it's worth the price, but then let's talk about the software because it does hold it back. So one thing you'll need to know is that in order to use the grip with a camera app versus the Blackmagic app, you actually have to pair them in a different way. So in terms of pairing it to use with the camera app, you just pair it the way you would pair any Bluetooth accessory, settings app in the Bluetooth menu. You also do need to go into the accessibility settings and enable zoom, and in that way your zoom will work within the camera app itself. The grip works properly as it's stated in the manual. The zoom rocker zoomed in and out smoothly, and you can actually increase the zoom speed by holding the function down and manipulating the zoom rocker up and down. The focus dial serves no purpose in the camera app, but the shutter button works very well in the camera app, so no issues on the native camera app side of things. So let's talk about the Blackmagic camera app. In order to use the grip with the Blackmagic camera app, you need to push the function button 3 times because that turns it from something called HID mode to app mode as it's stated in the manual. And when it's in app mode, it allows you to pair with the Blackmagic camera app. That took me a while to figure out, so I'm telling you now. Once you do have it unpaired, you hold the power button down for 1 second, it'll go into Bluetooth pairing mode. Then when you're in the Blackmagic camera app, go to Accessories, enable Bluetooth, and click on Nucleus Wireless Lens Control. Then you can pick the grip to pair with the Blackmagic camera app. The function button and the shutter button work, so basically start recording video. The focus wheel can then be used to adjust focus, as I mentioned earlier, and the dial is quite well dampened, and focusing manually in the Blackmagic app, in my experience, is actually a joy, especially when combined with focus peaking in the Blackmagic app. Because the grip is Bluetooth, I can take the grip off and have it somewhere else and prop up the phone on a tripod and still control the Blackmagic camera app, which is awesome, where you want to get that focus pull just perfect, and this will let you do that. Let's go to the zoom rocker. But there is some strange logic with the Blackmagic camera app. When you manipulate the zoom rocker, it'll jump you from the default zoom for that particular lens. Then it zooms all the way to the highest level of zoom possible. And then when you zoom back, when you dial it back, then for some reason it starts to operate regularly as intended, which is super strange. I think this can be fixed in software, to be honest. But on day one, it's actually quite unpredictable. Not a deal breaker for me specifically, because I think the software zoom functionally in Blackmagic camera app is actually better because then I can use dolly zoom. But you know, some of you are buying this for this zoom functionality, and it doesn't right now work as intended, in my opinion. The problem with that, of course, is be improved in the future, but right now it's not improved, and it's up to you whether you want to buy or not based on the current state of things. But overall, I really do like the grip. It does significantly increase handling of the camera and the phone. Think about what I've said and kind of keep that in mind if you want to make that purchase or not. Okay, so now let's move on to the ND filters, because that's kind of why I bought this. And we'll go into a bit of a technical overview of how each of these perform relative to each other. And so you just line up the little trench here, the little piece, and align it, and it's in. Voila, that's all it is. It wasn't too long. Moved really fast, and now you've got a circular ND filter on your phone. So I'll start off with a simple ND test. Now I'll do a simple test of color cast, just so you can see how the circular ND compare to the FSND 67mm and no filter at all. So you can see for yourself if there's any color cast issues. I didn't notice any significant chromatic aberration. There's some, shooting at high contrast branches, at least not to the point that it bothered me in day-to-day use, but you can be the judge of this yourself. I'll highlight a few optical considerations. There appears to be a light leak in the top left corner. So light just seems to be squeaking in right around here. So you'll see what looks like a reflection of the camera in the top left part of their video in certain lighting conditions if the light source is to your left. There is a bit of an easy fix to this, to be honest, and it's just place your finger here when you're filming, or a piece of electrical tape or something like that, just to block the light from entering from the hole here. Yes, it seems like something that should have been addressed. In addition, there is some cross pattern noticeable in some lighting conditions on the ultra wide. Overall, I am pretty happy with the circular ND for my purposes. For the stuff that I film when I'm outdoors, just kind of interacting with my kids, I don't really notice it very much. I didn't even notice any of it when I'm based on the footage that I did film, not in a testing type situation. But some of you guys might use this professionally. It probably does matter to you a bit more. When I film stuff, I tend to be going from really light to shadow, because I'm filming my kids for the most part. And so I can't really just switch filters on the fly. Like if I was doing a waterfall or something like that, that's different. Like I'm just moving in between light sources all the time. So for me, a circular VND solution is way better. But in summary, I will say this, I do like the circular ND filter. There are some flaws, it's not perfect, but it's also a relatively inexpensive ND. I do realize the system is quite expensive, but it's not itself, like on its own, it's not that expensive an ND filter because you can buy much more expensive ones on Amazon. But at ND 1 to 5, I don't think it's strong enough for really bright summer sunny days. It handles fall in Vancouver sufficiently well, but it's not as bright as other time. The biggest issue to me, because of the limitation of the ND 1 to 5, for all intents and purposes seems to be relatively proprietary. This is a magnetic ND filter. There may be third-party ND filters, but I'm not aware of them. Based on the comments in my video, I understand that the ERF, the small rig, and the case and magnetic ND filters do not work with this because of the polarity of this solution relative to the small rig, case, and ERF solution. It's not a physical issue as far as I'm aware, so if you can find a 58mm that fits physically but is also reversed in polarity, then it might fit. But I don't have any of those to test, unfortunately, so I'm sorry. But what this means is that you're kind of stuck with what Tilta provides for you until third parties step in, which seems kind of unlikely. So unfortunately, I only do have the ND 1 to 5. I mean, you can push it if you also get the FSND plate and focus on getting the more higher intensity filters. I also do recommend buying a 17mm plate because they're relatively inexpensive, but what that allows you to do is then you can buy like a 17mm to 37mm filter adapter and then just attach any old 37mm or even 58mm if you buy the 58mm adapter. The drawback here is, of course, with the iPhone, one of the beauty of shooting with the iPhone, you can switch from the 24mm to the 100mm lens very easily, but if you're using an ND filter and you can only attach the 37mm filter on top of a specific lens, and you can't even attach the ultra wide whatsoever. Having said that, I don't actually do a lot of footage with the ultra wide, and if I do, I don't worry about being too cinematic or anything. But anyway, that's another alternative. If you liked the grip, for instance, with the Tilta, and you like the case, and you like the fact that I could do 17mm and T-mount lenses, and if you get the 17mm plate, maybe just skip the circular VND and instead buy a 17mm to 37 or 17mm to 58mm adapter and use whatever other lenses you have. Okay, so we talked about the 17mm. What about the 17mm adapter itself? I can tell you that I love it. I love the 17mm lens plate. I don't think it's a gimmick. There's so many options for 17mm lenses. Love the flexibility of this. I love this non-proprietary. Now, what I did do is I did buy this LS79 lens, and I think this is a reflex competitor. So the reflex 240mm, because of the way it's marketed. I don't know how it compares to the reflex. I don't own that. It's way too expensive for me. But this thing is like a third of the price, and I don't think it's a third of the quality. And so here's some samples I took with the Tilta case, and I'm super happy with it. But if you're interested in seeing the review for this, subscribe, hit the notification icon. You'll get my thoughts on this lens in the near future in a long form review. But in terms of it plugging in, no problem whatsoever. It's a screw mount, and now it's on, and it's very easy to hold it like this with the grip in one hand and the lens in another, and you walk around and shoot like this, no problem whatsoever. It's a great thing. So now let's talk about the T-mount lens plate. The lens plate comes with 3 of these for ring and align it with the wings of the camera cutout, and then you stick it in, and then you just take your Moment lens and then you line it up, and then you just spin like any other Moment, and there you have it. It's on right away. No problem whatsoever. So now I have so much flexibility. I have the ability to use Moment lenses, 17mm lenses. I have 2 different, maybe 3 different types of ND filters. And for me, that's really important. Like, I wanted the most flexible system possible. That's the whole appeal to me. And I really, really do like the functionality because of that. With the T-mount plate, the first time I twisted this macro lens onto the T-mount plate, it did scrape some of the paint off the underside of the lens plate. It did actually scrape a little bit of the paint off the lens itself, which, yeah, you can see there. The mount works fine. It still works on the Moment case. It doesn't affect the performance whatsoever, but it's going to annoy me if I try to sell this lens in the future. Like, it obviously has devalued this lens somewhat, so keep that in mind. Maybe be a bit more careful when you twist it on the first time. After all this, do I like the Tilta Khronos Lite system? And the answer is yes. I like it. It's not perfect, but I like it a lot. The ND plates, both of them kind of stick out. The 1 to 5 stop isn't strong enough for bright sunny days in Vancouver. The case is a little thick, and the lens mount scuffing on the T series kind of bothered me. But overall, it does work for me. It's actually really in line with what I thought it was when I had done that overthinking video. Plus, it means I have to carry a lot less. I don't have to carry like an extra camera, a DJI Pocket 3, anything like that. Maybe it's just the Ricoh GR3 and this for video, and that's kind of it. That's all I need to. So this fits perfectly for me, and I'm pretty happy with it. But if you have any questions, happy to answer them. I tried to make this as informative as possible, but if you have any further questions, just put in a comment and I'll look at them and I'll answer whatever I can. Anyway, until next time, peace.